Welcome back to the Anachroschism. Before we pick up where we left off last time, there's a bit of a point of order just to make sure we have not confused all the viewers. It's coming from the direction of camera number 6, the bottom right one. And if he's looking ashamed, it's because he basically butchered his own backstory. So, the individual that was the champion of this particular little fun competition and was pulled over with the might of Karash is not his dead brother, who is dead, at least as far as anybody knows still, but actually his mother, that's Kava, and we'll be getting to her shortly. So just to make sure everybody is understanding, not the brother, he's dead, the mother.
So less dramatic, but also more dramatic.
He takes after his mother's side more.
Yes. So anyways, we'll pick up with that group and get back to the ranch here in a moment with Grail and Lena. So we have Isaac and Tessian and Thea and Karash in the town of Willowdale, where there was some kind of festivities, seemingly like a monthly or thereabouts festival that goes on, and they stumbled upon the middle of a tug-of-war competition. Karash beat a semi-cheater in the first form of this, got access to the champion, beat the champion, pulled them over. The mask that was covering a decent chunk of the upper right half of their face came off, and as we left off, it was pretty much exactly after this person stumbled forward, hit the ground, looked up at you just long enough to recognize them as Kava, your mother.
It was your mom.
I feel like the emphasis was unnecessary. Okay. I'm gonna run over and kind of fall down to my knees and just kind of grab her head and mother, and pull her head to me and just kind of freak out and hold her there.
To set the scene a bit here, having finished this, because we don't really describe the scene after what happened here, there was assorted gasps, some excitement, some disappointment. You obviously know that, including some members of your party, a few people have some wagers on the outcome of this, and the fact that it was over so quickly was surprising. So there's a general a sound of surprise that comes from the crowd. As you get closer to Kava and hold her head up, you see the area underneath where she had this sort of metal mask that's still lying strewn on the ground. That whole part of her face is pretty badly scarred and was not the last time you saw her before the attack on the islands. It seems as though she was using it to cover it up in some respect, though you don't know why, but you can quickly see why she was wearing that, because underneath it's just kind of just like this mangled. It's hard to tell if it's from a burn scar or just damage. It was cut up too much. The eye there, the eyeball is still in, but it doesn't quite seem fully functional. It doesn't. As she looks up at you, as you kind of go over to her on the ground, that eye does not follow in your direction. Only the left does as she takes you in.
Jesus Christ.
Seriously?
Oh.
It's creepy as shit.
But everything else is, as you remember, there's the familiar blue scales, almost like a deeper blue than anybody else, and it harkens back to your youth. And as you meet her on the ground, she looks up at you and puts a hand on the side of your face, and she says, "It is good to see you, Deep Diver."
You are alive. How are you alive? Where have you been?
Well, I suspect we have a lot to catch up on, Karash, but perhaps not here in the middle of a circle of people.
Yes. And I'm gonna start helping her up. Grabbing her helmet, getting her, and I'm, holding her up as though she needs help needlessly. Clearly, she could walk on her own 2 feet, but I'm a little overprotective at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And she kind of lets you for a bit. As you guys start to walk off, she may then resume her own 2 feet. And as you help her up, the kind of murmurs in the crowd of surprise and shock turn to cheers. There are, encouraging shouts and general excitement. Again, there's a couple people who are a little bitter because they've come on the losing end of this wager, but for the most part, people are excited for the scene and the sportsmanship that you're showing and all this jazz. So even though they don't know exactly what's going on between the two of you, just in general, they're like, "Hey, cool, this newcomer beat the champion. That's neat."
So I'm going to go over to the crowd and be like, "Okay, everybody, show's over. been entertained. Pay up if you lost. Because I also bet money. I'm interested in that. But I'm trying to like let them kind of have their a peaceful exit.
And the gentleman you made a wager with, I think, was a gold, yes?
I think so.
I don't think it was any high stakes.
I think it was like 15, 30 gold.
Yeah, I think it was 500 gold, 6 platinum, and a level 3 magic item.
Thank you.
Begrudgingly puts a matching coin in your palm to pay up. Does not try to skirt his debt, but does seem kind of like surprised and a little bit frustrated by the outcome. But pays up. So you can add a gold to your inventory.
Oh, thank you very much, good sir. It's the nature of the game sometimes, huh? And I look at Tessian and Thea, and I kind of do like a eye gesture to follow Karash and Kava. The mom's name is Kava.
Tessian's just like standing there, kind of looking around. He's like, "Hey, what's happening now? I must not have been paying attention."
And I just...
Thea,
Am I next to Tessian? Am I close to Tessian?
close to, yes.
So I'm just gonna gesture again and kind of like put my hand on his back, guiding him over to follow Karash. And I'm just gonna say, what part did you miss exactly?
And Tessian just leans over to Thea. He's like, "Who's that? Who's with Karash?"
That's
like,
Karash's mother, from what I can glean. He's found his mom.
What? And so then I'm sure he'll go that way.
And Thea's like, I reckon I don't understand either, but I suspect we should check it out. She's still trying to maintain the aspect the accent you guys developed on the way in. It's not very good still.
No, well, I'm gonna say, Thea, did Tessian take something? What's going on? He's usually very alert.
And kind of under her breath, she says, well, I don't know. He seemed a little down the trip over. I think he's just upset that I'm leaving.
Okay, all right, well. And I'll just head over to...
And that's how we explain Jason's response to recent surgery from the last part.
Oh.
Which I didn't even realize, to be fair. I thought he had been quiet. Like, I noticed he was kind of, like, not engaging as much. But then afterwards, he was like, yeah, I was kind of just out of it because, I was taking, like, Vicodin or whatever. I was like, oh, sick.
Opioids, children, not even once.
Oh, yeah.
So the man who was kind of officiating the tug of war says to you, Karash, well, I think drinks are in order. I'll have your winnings in just a moment, sir, if you'll head over to our tavern and we'll get things cleaned up over here and then head your way if that's all right.
So, have you seen Father? Do you know where he is? Is he well as well?
And the
I'm
man
not paying any fucking attention.
Kind of parallel, but I want to finish this conversation. But I would step in to talk to the guy.
Okay.
But I don't know if you want to finish this thread
Let's
first.
do this one first. It'll be
Okay.
short. So he doesn't get a response from Karash, and he seems kind of like, yeah, and then I'm assuming you step up.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to go? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, good sir. We will very much appreciate the winnings. How much, by the way?
Well, we'll sort through that once we get inside. It's kind of a cumulative thing once people are stepping up to the plate.
Great. Hey, listen. And I kind of put my arm around his shoulder and I kind of go in and I say, this is, as I'm sure you can tell, it's a little touchy. It's a reunion. Do you think maybe we can have at least a part of the tavern just to ourselves to celebrate the win in a more intimate setting?
He says, well, I suppose that's up to them, but at the very least, we can get you your own spot. There's going to be people who want to come over and congratulate you, probably going to want to buy him some drinks, but we can get you your own space if nothing else.
I would like that. As Karash's representative, just you route them to me, okay? And I slap him on the back. Good, hearty slap.
He's given you just the slightest bit of side-eye on this, but these are not high enough stakes that he's that suspicious about anything, so he's like, yes, of course. We'll take care of that as best we can, sir.
Great.
So now, as you head in that direction, Karash, she says, well, I have been traveling all over the place, seeing different places, trying to find anyone from the clan that I could. It has not always been easy, and my efforts have not always been successful, but we have found some. There are still more survivors of Clan Mystesian than you might think. As for your fathers, I'm not completely sure. I know that Taharv made it off the island. I have not seen him since, but he got off on one of the boats that we were trying to get anybody we could away from the island. And I know Sharhen was pretty gravely injured in the assault on the island. I do not think he could have made it off.
What happened to your face?
She sort of looks away from you when you ask this, almost like she's just the least bit ashamed of it. You're not entirely sure why, but she does seem like, she turns to the right a bit so it's harder to see. She says, well, let's just say that when the traitor and his men assaulted our home, I stayed behind to make sure as many could escape as possible, and this was the price I paid. I do not mind having paid it.
Have you heard of where Bereave is?
And just, you know her well enough that this doesn't even require a check. The mere mention of his name, even though she has sort of said, she's referred to him offhand, but has not said his name specifically, there is this quiet anger that flares up that you can see in her face. Her eyes kind of narrow, and just the mention appears to kind of set her off a little bit. She says, I have not seen the traitor. I know he lives. I also know... Yeah, yes. It's something I intend to fix if I ever get the opportunity. But I have not been able to find him. He seems to be laying low after what he did. At the very least, I know he's not on this area of the continent, or if he is, he has escaped my search to this point, but I have been pretty thorough.
Have we been gathering somewhere to go back to the Blue Isles? Do you want to go home? I don't understand why, if you have met others, you have not returned.
There are many in the clan who think that home is no longer home, that it has been defiled to the point that none should return there. There are several of us, maybe dozens by now, who have been in hiding at the Altar Archipelago, and you recognize that from your time on sea. It's south of Black Harbor. She says they're trying to rebuild. They're trying to make a new life for themselves, and to some level, I guess, anywhere that we can keep the clan together will represent home. It doesn't quite feel the same, but there are many who fear that we would be attacked again if we ever went back to the Blue Isles.
But if we find Bereave and kill him, there will be no one to ever betray us again.
That may well be the case, but until that time, you may find some of our clan's people hard to convince of that. You have to understand, Karash, I don't know how much of the attack you saw, but Bereave leveled everything that we had come to call home. He burned our village to the ground and spit on its ashes.
But it is home still. We could return.
We could, but again, as long as Bereave draws breath, and she kind of spits the name out as she says it,
I have sworn to kill him. You can come with me and we can do it together.
She kind of sighs at this. She says, there is more to this than that, but I think drinks are in order.
Oh, okay.
So she kind of leads you over to the tavern. The rest of you guys can follow.
Yes.
Inside,
Wait,
what?
Have we been talking in common or Draconic the whole time?
She's been speaking to you in Draconic.
Oh, for... Oops, never
You've
mind.
been speaking in English, in common, because you want me to hear.
Let's roll with that.
Because she is not very trustworthy by nature and does not want people overhearing.
And I'm a stranger. There's danger.
Yes,
You
stranger.
don't know where you are right now. How could she trust you?
Oh my gosh.
It's true. Has no idea who's fallen into this tavern right now. This is a small village, as you saw when passing it and now kind of coming into it. So the inn is also not exactly austere in its accommodations, but still much smaller than the last couple times you've been to, like Harnstead, where there were bigger and flashier inns. Still, there are, tables scattered about on the inside, and the promoter, as it were, is kind of able to lead you over to a corner of one, and sort of he kind of goes about asking to make sure at least the couple tables that are nearby are cleared, so you have a gap. There are other people who are already inside as you come in, and still others who come in who are watching the thing happen in the center of town, who are also interested in kind of, joining the festivities. But you get sort of some space to yourself. And as you guys sit at this corner table, Karash, you see your mother's eyes kind of flicker up to the rest of the group, and she kind of looks at you inquisitively, and she says, "Who are these people?"
These are my friends. I have been traveling with them now for some time.
Tessian extends his hand. And he's like, yes, I am Tessian Black. It's a pleasure to meet you, Karash's mother. He didn't catch her name, so he's not really sure what to go here.
She kind of looks you over. She does not return the handshake. And it doesn't even seem like necessarily unfriendly. She's just looking you over and does not either understand the handshake custom or be interested in returning it.
Tessian kind of does like the hands out, just yes, just kind of closes it up in a fist and puts it on his waist, just yeah. No, it's no biggie whatsoever.
Yeah.
I like her already. My name, and I kind of look around really quick. We're pretty, I feel like, away enough from people, so I tell her my name and all of that.
Yeah, there's a decent buzz in the tavern,
Yeah.
just from the sheer number of people in there, and no one really, you scan the room real quick, nobody really appears to be paying you any mind, so the odds of being overheard are pretty low.
I'm just gonna quickly, Mom, Lena, Grail, Tessian, Isaac.
Lena.
Lena's not
We'll
here.
worry
but-
about this. Oh, Lena's not.
Yeah,
They're not.
Len and Grail
Never mind,
not there, it's fine.
I'm
Sorry,
just,
flip
Thea.
her out even more.
yeah, whatever.
Here's a ghost. Here's a ghost.
And then back in comment again. I'm gonna. May we have a moment, please, to speak? Just for a moment, or two, please.
In Draconic, she asks you, as her gaze returns to you, she says, "Do you trust them?"
Yes, Intercon. Yes, with my life.
Then I don't mind if they stay.
They don't speak Draconic, so this would be silly, but as you like it.
It's not
So,
true.
Karash, do you want us to go or do you want us to stay?
They couldn't understand that. God damn it.
No,
Yeah,
well,
you're right. So you guys are doing gibberish, and
Well,
I'm like,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
Okay.
Thea
you
can't
could-
understand you, so I don't know what she's saying, but yeah.
Oh, good point. You can stay, but actually no. Please, you just give us some
You
time.
know what, Karash? Yeah, we're going to go
We'll
over
go
here.
get some
You just-
drinks at the bar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
And as you head in that direction, Thea kind of whispers to the two of you. She says, "Well, they didn't say much, but still, I picked up on most of it. Without exposing their privacy, it seems as though Karash has been through an awful lot.
Tessin just nods solemnly. A very solemn nod.
Tessie's thinking, what should I do right now? What would I do if I was coherent?
Lucid.
I don't know what to... was there any details that they divulged about the nature of the attack, how she's here?
Karash will tell us in time, Isaac. It's not pry.
I don't want to pry, but at the same time, it's important. He's not the most forthcoming, and it may be something that is good for us to know.
Yeah, he'll tell us if he's ready.
Thea kind of nods. She says, besides, Isaac, I don't think there was much new there. It seems like she was hurt in the escape, but was still able to make it off the island, and I know he had mentioned this bereaved before, but beyond that, I don't know.
Fair enough. I'll get them some ales. If she's similar to Karash, I should look into the biggest size they have.
Tessin tries to flag down whoever's behind the bar.
It's a big gulp.
Yeah. 66 ounce.
Whiskey. So you guys work on getting drinks. Kava's eyes kind of follow the group as they leave, and she says, so forget me. I would be interested to know what happened to you. I had heard that you were alive, but spent the first couple of years not knowing for sure.
Yes, I was found, washed up, and brought in to join a crew, and I was working on a boat for the last 2 years or so, slaying pirates and anybody who looked like they might be a slaver. It was kind of awesome.
She can't help but crack a smile at that. She says, well, I suppose the question then is, in your travels, did you find any other of our clanspeople?
A few. Recently, a gentleman whose name I can't remember now, and Hassan? There you go, close enough. And David, whom is actually in our home back in Segura Cove. We have a house there. It's complicated. Don't worry about it. But that's it so far. You are only the third that I have met from our clan. It is baffling. That I found you at all is a miracle. I can't imagine how you've been hiding for this long. I have been sailing up and down the coasts for 2 years trying to find any sign or word of anyone in the clan, and have gone that entire time, and only in the last couple of weeks seen anyone. I'm so happy I found you, Mother.
And you. I don't know. We fanned out from the coast pretty early. Our search picked up a few survivors on the shores of the mainland. We sent them to the Altar Archipelago first and started trying to use that as a base as we discovered more. I decided pretty early on to stick to the mainland and travel inward because I felt I was among the stronger of our people, could handle myself.
I'm smiling.
Yeah. And in that time, I've been learning. I picked up some common so I could speak with people. I have been seeing new places and seeing other people who have suffered in different ways than our own clan. Has been interesting and almost fascinating, and yet at times it's confusing, different from what I had grown used to over time.
The mainlanders are very strange. I'm impressed, however. Your grasp of common is far better than mine. I speak it at best haltingly.
She says, well, I used to pick up on it back on the islands a bit as well, but you have to learn very quickly when you put it full-time into practice, and I guess that's something to be said for all the time I've had out here. Not that I wouldn't undo it all if I could.
Why here, anyway? Why this little town in the middle of nowhere?
Well, I make it a point to stop through in a few different places in the area, touch base with a couple people I've made contact with, and see if they've heard of any of our other brothers and sisters who have been found on the mainland. Occasionally I get...
There's more Mysterian here?
Not in the city anymore, no. There were once. A couple years ago. The only tips I have on anybody right now is that there may be a couple in Timberbrook, which is a city I have tried to stay away from when possible. And there's rumors in the wind about people on the western side, but traveling there would take time. I've been over there once before, but haven't really wanted to go back. The desert is harsh, unforgiving, and very unlike where we come from.
I have also heard of tales of our clan in the desert. I was hoping to search there next if I could, and though I have other commitments I suspect will lead me astray from that.
Does this have to do with your new clan of sorts? And she is smiling when she says this. This is not like a jealousy thing. This is just kind of a harmless rib.
No. I'm totally laughing along with it. Like, yeah. No, they don't have scales. They're not my clan. We're good. We understand. Yes, my mainlander friends are, among other things, adventurers, and at least one of them has a quest of her own that I have sworn to assist her in. And really, they are all looking for something, it seems, but her in particular, it's related to the dragons, in fact, in a roundabout way. I have her explain it to you sometime, but needless to say, she is fascinating.
She says, well, I would like that. Now, there is one other question I have to ask, and she's kind of looking at least what she can see of your scales, because obviously you're armored. But she's looking at the lightning bolts. She says, what has happened to your beautiful scales?
I was struck by lightning as I fled from Bereave and the slavers. It actually ended up saving my life, I believe. I would have been captured had I not been pushed off of the cliff into the water. I wasn't planning on jumping from that height.
She's kind of just like a little set back by this. She says, interesting. As you survived that, may be fortunate indeed. Bereave always had something in particular for you.
One more time?
Bereave always had something in particular for you.
I didn't catch the name. I was like, who?
Your brother always had something in particular for you.
Son of a... I deserve that. Yes, speaking of, I'm going to get a little bit awkward now. The lightning mother. I know that as a rule, Dragonborn in worship is not a thing that happens. We are the children of dragons. It would be preposterous of us to spend time at the altar of a god when they are merely gods in the light of dragons. But I was saved by Cord, the god of lightning and war. I am a paladin of Cord.
She kind of takes this in for a moment, and she says, how do you know this for sure? Was there a vision, or did he save you directly when the attack on the island happened?
When I awoke from being struck by lightning and pushed off of the cliffs, I awoke with this medallion, a symbol of Cord. I'm going to hold it up to her. And that alone. And since then, I have channeled the powers of Cord many times. He grants me strength so that I might crush those that require crushing.
You get another chuckle at this. She says, she kind of sighs just gently, and she says, well, you are right that is not normally our custom, but I have found in my time on the mainland that sometimes other ways of thinking aren't necessarily so bad. And hell, what the traitor has done to us has made it such that I'm even of a different mind of what we call home. I agree with you, Karash. I think we should make our way back to the Blue Isles if we can, once we know that he is dead and in the ground. But I do think there's something to be said for the people we've managed to bring back together. And wherever the most of our people are, I think that should be home. So, all that's to say, some of our traditions, I think, whether by choice or by force, have had to change a little bit over the last few years.
That certainly seems to be the case. But you've got a point where Mysterion is home, regardless. I just wish there were more of us to gather. It is very strange. The first of our clan that I found, David, I found her sleeping in a box, like some sort of, I don't know, like carted around like cargo amongst many, many others. It was the strangest thing. There is something odd on this mainland beyond anything that the simple betrayal of Bereave. I don't understand any of it, but I find most of what goes on in this stupid place very confusing. Why do people live here if there's so many creepy, destructive monsters running around trying to slay them and hypnotize them and turning things to stone? It's really bizarre.
She says, well, in my travels I have seen all sorts of things, and you are right. There are some who live on the mainland who are miserable, and some of them who don't even realize that they are miserable, but go through their life and are unhappy all the time. But I have also seen places where people live together in harmony and find happiness from their own comfort with each other. It's hard for me to cast judgment on them because, we lived our own life on the islands and suddenly everything was taken from us. Maybe we were immune to it longer because we lived off on our own. I don't know, but in a way we're no different than them. Some of their customs and mannerisms are strange, no doubt, but in some ways our experiences are identical.
But I have met many, and so few of them fish.
She says, well, I think that you can still find some by the water, but there's so much land out here that many of them, I think, have just forgotten how or were never even taught. As to the others, I agree. We managed to get many off the island. I don't know how many died in the attack that day. I have also found a few of our brothers in the company of slavers, and I cut them down and freed them. But I think there are too many who are unaccounted for. I think there are still a large group missing somewhere, and like the one you mentioned, I'm not sure what it is that's keeping them hidden from us, but the numbers are not right. Unless more perished on the island than I thought, and I was one of the last to leave, there must be more somewhere, and that's why I continue journeying to find them.